what kind of challenges do you think you faced, which an entrepreneur should learn?
One of the 2-3 main things I learned was that you have to be there upfront for your team. Many of us get into entrepreneurship thinking, oh, it's my great idea, I will succeed. It's good to have the positiveness, but please be aware that you could fail.
What made you think I'll open a hotel?
Opening one resort was a desire I had probably 30 years ago.
Like, how did you come up with that idea? Is it a team effort or is it your idea executed well?
So here I would take credit for myself.
So what are the 3 tips if you're entering into a travel industry especially?
So travel industry is very broad-based. It depends which segment you're really coming into.
Topmost tip, if you want to give it to any entrepreneurs, what would be that be? Hello everyone and welcome to Travelpreneur World. My name is Soundar Rajan and I'm a global travelpreneur. Today in the podcast, I have someone special whom I have been knowing for the last 20 years. I keep on telling him that he lives his life in his own terms and he's someone who's so experienced in both side of travel industry and hospitality industry. His experience is so vast that from living in abroad as an inbound specialist to a corporate setup where he was leading a huge team, and then he started his journey as an entrepreneur in the hospitality sector and built a luxury boutique brand. He's none other than Himmat Anand. Himmat Anand, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to start with something based on your experience. Like, you've been almost 40 years experience in the travel industry. Then you entered into the hotel industry also.
Right.
So I want to start something with that you've been working in Taj, Sita, inbound industry and all. So these experiences, how it molded you as a person?
Right. So I think your experiences do 2 things.
Okay.
It's not only experiences tell you what to do. Equally important is what you shouldn't do or don't want to do.
Yeah.
Right. I think you have to look at it from both the angles.
Yeah.
So I joined the Taj in 78 after doing my hotel management from Pusa. And I was part of the pre-opening team of the Taj Mansingh.
Okay.
Right. We were the first ones there. I lasted only 18 months in the hotel industry.
Okay.
Right? And you couldn't get a better brand than the Taj to start your career with.
Yeah.
Right? And my parents were paranoid. Dad was in the army at that time. And he said, you studied hotel management.
Yeah.
You working with the Taj and you've left them. And I had nothing in hand.
Okay.
But I knew
Okay.
I don't want to do hotels at that stage of my life. Right? Because the hotel industry I found then was extremely demanding. And it's a personal choice.
Yeah.
And I was not willing to give up so much of my freedom for a job. So that was a decision I took.
Yeah.
And I left the Taj.
Okay.
And fate would have it, I joined the tourism industry. I joined Sita as a management trainee. And I still remember the late Mr. Inder Sharma, who was the owner of Sita then.
Okay.
He refused to believe in the interview that I had left the Taj on my own. He said, you have been sacked.
Okay.
Nobody leaves the Taj without a job. I said, sir, you know everybody in the industry. Get anybody from your team to call the Taj and they will tell you the reason why I left. I left because I didn't want to be there anymore. That was the reason, right? So I'm glad Sita happened because then I think 25 years old was an amazing journey with Sita.
Yeah.
Amazing journey, out of which I spent 10 years in Europe.
Okay.
So I opened the Sita Travels office in Frankfurt.
Okay.
It must have been 1985. Yeah, in 85 I went to Frankfurt. And working with the Germans, I think, was one of the most fascinating times of my initial career days.
Okay.
I anyway came from an army background in the sense my dad was in the army. So you led a very disciplined life. But I think Germans take discipline to another level.
Yeah.
They may not be the most friendly people to deal with. They take time to open up with you. But I think as people to work with, I couldn't have found a better launching pad for my career at that stage. And I'll just share one brief incident with you which happened. I was asked, I'd just been there a month or two, and the tour operator asked me that I want this proposal for India. I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
He said, by when can you give it? Now, we in India never give a definite time, right? So I also said, by Thursday, Friday, and I would send you. He said, Mr. Anand, is it Thursday? is it Friday?
Is it Friday?
I said, sir, Friday, 5 o'clock. That happened 45 years ago, and it is stuck in my mind even today.
Yeah.
So whenever somebody tells me, let's meet at 10, 10:30, I react. I say, boss, is it 10? Is it 10:30?
Yeah.
I do not know 10, 10:30, right? Yeah. So I think working with them was for 6 years an amazing time with them. And then, of course, I moved on to London with Jet Airways, and then I was in Paris.
Yeah.
I did a short stint in New York. So all of these foreign overseas experiences, I think, mold you where you take the best of every culture.
So these 25 years in CETA, I think it made you a leader as well, right? You had handled a team as well.
Yes.
So what are the challenges do you feel at that point of time? Because it was not a very technology-driven, setup, and people were just getting into the travel industry. The generation was maybe a lot of stalwarts are there already when you took over.
Yes.
So what kind of challenges do you think you faced, which an entrepreneur should learn?
So I'm going to answer this in 2 bits.
Okay.
Right. So one, let's look at the challenges when you're in the corporate world, or what I faced while I was there, or what should leadership be all about.
Yeah.
Let's just talk that in a more generic way. So one of the 2-3 main things I learned was that as a leader, it's very easily said, walk the talk.
Yeah.
Not many do it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think to be a leader, for me, the biggest trait of a leader is that he must really believe in this. It is not just a phrase. You have to be there up front for your team. Right? And I think any flack which you take cannot be sent down line.
Yeah.
Then you're not a true leader.
True.
Flack must stop at you, whichever level you're at. Whether you're an assistant manager, you're a manager, you're a vice president, you're a CEO. Flack at your level has to stop with you if you are really a true leader in the true sense of it. I also firmly believe that in leadership, many of us think that success is because of us. It's me who is giving success to the company. I believe any leader is only as good as the team.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good team, you cannot succeed as a leader.
True.
And I think even today, after 25 years, which I spent in the corporate world, I believe my success was not because of me. It was really, I had a most amazing team in every step of my life. Let's come to the entrepreneurship part which you asked about. There are a few lessons I learned in entrepreneurship. So the first one is that you should be ready to lose everything if you're starting out as an entrepreneur. You know it as well as I do. 8 out of 10 new startups fail.
Yeah.
That's the success rate even today.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
Many of us get into entrepreneurship thinking, oh, it's my great idea, I will succeed. It's good to have the positiveness, but please be aware that you could fail. And there is no harm in failure.
Yeah.
Because unless you don't fail, how will you know again what is right for me and what is wrong for me? So failure is not really failure. Failure is only teaching about what is right and wrong for you and how much you can do and what you cannot do. It's really as simple as that. Two, the mistake I made was I put in all my money into my business when I started. Right? I later on realized, no, that is not the way to do it. But I was just so cocksure that this has to succeed. I said, let's just put everything into
all in.
Well, I think all in. It should not be done. It should not be done. Definitely don't depend on friends for business. I got kicked badly. Right? I learned many a lesson. So I later realized friendship, it's not that those guys are not your friends, they are your friends. But can they be your friends in business also? I think those are two different things which we must sort of separate. Don't keep them together. So anybody who is starting a business thinking, oh yeah, my friends are there, family is there, you're really in for a surprise when you when you want help. will not happen.
True.
Yeah, so these were the sort of learnings which I had in the 15 years which I jumped into it. And I think it was great in its own way. Yeah.
But tell me something, like you were working in a corporate setup of a travel agency, right?
Yes.
What made you think that I'll open a hotel? Because, you could have easily opened an inbound agency and got some good business.
Yeah.
What made you think? Because that's a huge shift, right?
Yes.
So what made you think to open a hotel?
Opening one resort was a desire I had probably 30 years ago.
Okay.
I knew that one day I will do one resort, which will not be the traditional hotel. It will normally go against what normal hoteliering norms are. Right. So that was something which I dreamt every living day. I didn't know when I would do it. I didn't know where I would do it or what I would do. I just knew I would do one day.
Okay.
Let's fast forward to about 2006-07 when I had already been Chief Operating Officer of Q&E for about 5 years.
Yeah.
I became 2002 till 2007. And that's when I started coming to work after 5 years of being in the same position, I would often question myself, how are you growing in the position you are in, or are you growing in the position you are in? And the answer was no, because I think I had absorbed all I could from that position. And I had probably given all I could to the company in that level which I was. So it was like now a status quo which was happening. And that is not a very nice feeling to somebody who wants to do more in life. So that was one reason where I felt probably now is the right time to get into reality what I've always wanted to do, which is open a resort. The second thing was a little bit more of a scary feeling which I had. And that scary feeling was that when all of us turn 58, that is your retirement.
Yeah.
And no matter how good you are in the company,
Yeah.
you get a nice farewell party, you get a plaque, and they say thank you. And what do you do then? Because 58 is no age, honestly, to sit at home.
Yeah. True.
So as an extension, you may go to 60, 61. What else? Right?
True.
If you're an entrepreneur, you decide your longevity. Nobody else decides it for you. Right? You want to do it for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you carry on till when? It gives you the excitement. So that was the second part which I thought, now is the time to move. And I think the third most important thing was, I have always believed that you must get off when you're on top. Because unless you're a Tata or an Ambani, downslide for all of us at some stage has to happen.
True.
Has to, it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
And I have throughout my career always believed, just get off when you're on top and restart whatever else you want to do. And at that time, as Chief Operating Officer of Q&E, I couldn't go any higher. That was the number one, the number one tourism position as far as inbound was concerned. There was nothing else for me to look forward to. So all these three things, I think, combined, and I just thought that was the apt moment that let's just leave everything. And one day to the other, I just put in my papers and I said, I'm going.
Yeah.
I mean, people thought I was crazy to do it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm glad I did what I did. Yeah.
See, you're someone whom I have been professionally, we have been very good colleagues, and I have seen one thing that you do. People say differentiator for the sake of saying it, but you've been someone who've been doing it in every part of your life. When you started your Tree of Life, back then also, I've been your guest. You may not know, but I just went as a walk-in and stayed in your resort. I remember small things. At that point of time when you opened also, there was a luxury, definition of a luxury with brands like Taj, Oberoi and all. But in your resort, the definition of luxury was totally different. Right? Yes. Like customized keys, chef coming to your room.
You remember all that?
Of course. I'm a huge fan of, I keep on referring to my team. When I started something like an experiential holidays also, my definition of luxury was not staying in a huge room with all the facilities and all. Luxury for me is, before you think of something, it is presented to you in a very customized way.
Right.
So Tree of Life, when I entered, I noticed all, and even the tikha, meetha, spices is customized to you, your wife, your kids. So that's a differentiator for me. So what is that mindset? Like, how did you come up with that idea? Is it a team effort, or is it your idea executed well? What was that? I want to know.
So here I would take credit for myself. Right? When I started out. I started out with 3 non-negotiables when I started the Tree of Life. And those were held by the company throughout the 15-year duration. We did not move from them. Because I really believe if you have to succeed, there has to be a point where you learn how to say no. The moment you start saying yes to everything, that is when brand dilution happens. And I see that happening so often in today's day and age, where brands say one thing which they supposedly stand for, but when I see them, they're doing something totally different. So I'm wondering, what is this about? So what were my 3 non-negotiables? One was that we will always be away from city centers. And over the years, Tree of Life then became known as a brand that if you want to be away from the city, just go to a Tree of Life. And we were always 5, 7, 10 kilometers away from the city. So far away, still very close. 25, 30 minutes, you'd be in town. Right? Second one was that I would keep a restriction on the number of rooms I have per property. And for me, 20 rooms was my Lakshman Rekha. That no tree of life will be more than 20
rooms. Okay.
Give or take 1 or 2 rooms here, but that was 20 rooms.
Okay.
So the smallest property at that time we had was 6 rooms. And our biggest was 18, 19 rooms. Till we took one in Udaipur, much in the latest, in the last stage for a certain reason. But that was what Tree of Life was. Very personalized, open spaces, limited number of keys. And we held that all the way through. Had I started accepting all of them which came my way, instead of having 15 hotels in 13 years, I could easily be 40 hotels.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
But that was not the intent. Because then I would again go against what I really believed in, right? And then you start diluting your brand. The third thing was that we would be pet friendly. Right? I would not move away from that, much as I was discouraged. I said, no, we will be a pet-friendly brand. And the fourth one, to a large extent, we did follow was no buffets. It will all be table service. And you saw when you stayed with us also,
yes,
we didn't do buffets, even if it was a house full. I think the advantage I had was since we had limited number of keys, I could do all of this.
Yeah.
Maybe the larger brands cannot do it.
Cannot.
But I just firmly believed if you say, I'm serving you food which is fresh, it cannot be a buffet.
When you say... sometimes you're very passionate about something.
Yes.
As an entrepreneur, we sometimes, think that passing that passion to your teams or your people who are joining is a very difficult task. How did you manage to pass on the passion to your team members? Because I've seen that anybody across, I've been to 2-3 properties, and I've seen the uniformity on the passion, the level of service, which is something, which was uniform. Okay. So how did you manage to pass on the passion to these team members, like in general? Because in Sita also you are very passionate about your work. Yeah. But it's a difficult task as well.
Right. It is. So there were 2 things which happened. One was this SOP, standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
I don't say I have a dislike for SOPs, but I don't think much of SOPs usually. Because I think SOPs kill creativity. They are valuable to a limit. Unfortunately today, when you start training your staff on how to smile, how to stand, how to speak, what to ask the guests, I think you've killed hospitality already. So we had very basic level of SOPs. The rest was all training as you went. Right? And my mandate to my staff was very clear. Please be your own self. Because I believe hospitality is not about English language.
Yeah.
It is about body language. And if you can get your body language right,
true,
half the game is already done in hospitality.
Yeah.
You don't need slick-speaking city boys running around there. Half our team was all from the village.
Yeah.
Right?
True.
And
Local resource.
There, locals, all of them, right? Most of them were. And they're still, even after 14 years, they're still with us there.
Yeah.
And they were the ones who actually were builders. They were the ones who built the property in Jaipur and then got absorbed as hotel staff.
Yeah.
That's where we do our people from.
Yeah.
So, one, I think, again, if you are a major chain with 150, 200 rooms, you have to have SOPs. You can't do without it. In the boutique space, we are smaller. We have that liberty. So there were no SOPs. My mandate to my staff was one. Do what you want. When the guest leaves, I want him already to be thinking, which is the next tree of life I should go to. That's the mandate.
Yeah.
Now, how do you want to get there?
Yeah.
Is really for you to see. So we never taught our people greetings, this, that, whatever. I think because whatever you as a person are comfortable with, that is what you will do best.
Yeah.
So why should I impose SOPs on you, which are not your normal traits?
So in terms of idea, like for example, one of the ideas which I saw recently you are coming up with, it's been some few years you're working on the dog story property, which is again a unique experience, like, because when you started Tree of Life Way Beyond, it was also a very differentiator, as I said, that nobody was following it. Now many people follow it, of course.
Right.
What is it all about, the pet-friendly resort?
So let me just take a bit first of the Tree of Life, how we became pet friendly. So I was very clear when I started the first one that you would be pet friendly. And this I'm talking way back of 2010.
Okay.
And at that time, there were hardly any hotels which were pet friendly. It was nearly impossible to get a hotel which allowed dogs to stay. And when I said Tree of Life will be pet friendly, a number of people told me you will lose regular business because not everybody likes to have dogs around, which is true. Today, the scenario after 13 years with COVID, the whole scenario towards pets and dogs and animals is very different to what it was in 2010. I was willing to lose business.
Okay.
But I said, I'm not going to compromise on this. We will be pet friendly. If I lose the human business, so be it. I'm willing to take the loss. Right? So that is where I started with. And I've always found dogs or four-leggeds to be much nicer guests than the two-leggeds, honestly. They never complain unnecessarily. They don't break your things. They don't steal. They don't tear your linen, whatever else. And I find dogs just amazing guests here. So why would I say no to them? Right? So we welcomed things, and one by one, every Tree of Life was a pet-friendly property. Years later, about 5-7 years back, I have a Labrador, Jugnu, who actually is the mascot of the Tree of Life also. And Jugnu and me used to go on annual holidays. And whenever we'd go, I'd always mostly be told, sorry, pets not allowed, whenever I'd want to book a hotel with them. And that was extremely frustrating for me. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a brand where you can stay only if you're traveling with a pet. So I just turned everything on its side. Right? And that's when a dog story came into being. Because that was actually a dog story. Jugnu was the mascot there also. And it started with that thought process. So we started small. They were only small. There were 2-3 rooms places. So there was one in Agra. There was in Jaipur. Between Dehradun and Mussoorie, there's one in Mukteshwar. And it was not supposed to be a business. It was a kick of mine which I wanted to do. Where the pet was the guest. So offer letter went out in the name of the pet. Welcome letter in the name of the pet. Welcome drink only for the pet. Garlanding only for the pet. The human was there only by default. I had a dog story. Right? So that was the thing. I just said, no, these guys deserve their place also. Right? So now that's how a dog story started. And it's still there. It's in the small, because when Tree of Life was there, we really didn't give it that much importance to expand. But now I think that I have the time. We are looking to see how do we now take the dog story to the next level. But it's very well received by the public. People who go there have an amazing time. Because I think if you look after, for a pet lover, if you look after the pet and really don't care about him, they are okay with it. And that's the USP, I think, of a dog story. For us, the pet is the guest. Human is there by default.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Looking forward what's in store for us. I've read somewhere that you believed in ROI instead of ROE. It became a trend in LinkedIn as well. So what is it all about? Like, how do you think that people can shift their focus from ROE to ROI?
It's a very difficult one. I think. The world is chasing return on investment. Right? And when I started the Tree of Life, I didn't look at anything on the financials or on ROI. Because Tree of Life was not made to be a product of ROI. Right? I just, like I said, I wanted to defy everything which was happening in hospitality. So I said, let's look at return on experiences. For me, that was what was important. And that's when we started creating the experiences which some of them you mentioned about, So for example, I've always believed, whenever a guest comes to a hotel, at the time of check-in, a huge drama is done. Garlanding, aarti, tika, right? Welcome drink, all of that. Then you check in. What happens when you check out? You call the bellboy, he takes your baggage down, you go to the cashier, pay your bill, and out your cab or car. And I felt that is not. If you're giving so much importance to check-in, check-out has to be given the same importance. So we always had a ceremony at check-out also. Right? So, and it could be small things. In Hindu tradition, what is it? When you leave home, कोई आपको गुड़ देता है, थोड़ा सा दही.
Correct.
That sort of stuff. So you don't need brains for this. In the sense, there is no rocket science. This is something we've grown up with. How do you translate all of that experience into just a departure for the guest? So it's not really just paying my bill and going. Right? In Banaras, for example, we had the prayer wheels outside, which I got from Nepal. To be 10 prayer wheels. Right? And we had 5 of them at the entrance of the property. And before leaving, the guests would just go, turn the wheel and say, make a wish. And that's it. So these are small things which you do where you just, like I said, create those experiences. We had things like Teach a While. Now in Teach a While, we took our guests to the village school and they spent half an hour, 45 minutes teaching the kids any subject. We had Japanese going there and teaching them, and the fun was the students didn't understand Japanese and the Japanese didn't understand Hindi. But that half an hour, 45 minutes experience for both parties was absolutely amazing for them,
Yeah.
So I think
This takes that memories back.
that is what it's all about.
Yeah.
It is not about a room. I mean, those days of just selling a room are done with now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these things don't cost much. But if you apply your mind and see how can it just be a little bit different from the rest of the guys, I think there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, because I keep on telling you as well that you live life on your terms. Like biggest example is that when the entire world was doing on business and people were saying that the business have shifted from emails to WhatsApp, you are the one who said, no, not on WhatsApp, I'm on emails, or text me if you want me, call me if I want to reach out. And I think from your professional life also, you're someone who said no calls after 8.
Yeah.
So how do you create that mindset? Like, of course, this will create a work-life balance, and the Gen Z, the generation now, is someone who's like that. Like, we work with a lot of Gen Zs.
Yeah.
They said, boss, once I reach home, then whatever work is, it can probably, we'll do it next day.
Yeah.
We'll have to kind of get our guest also into a similar mindset. But how do you create that mindset?
I think there is conflict happening there.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have Gen Z who thinks the way you're saying they think.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have a customer which is becoming increasingly demanding as you go.
Yeah.
How is hospitality going to balance these two is actually the challenge today for the industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And customer demands are increasing like crazy.
Crazy. Yeah.
True. We see it happening every day.
Yeah.
This generation has to understand, and I'm all for work-life balance and all of that. But I think work-life balance can also be taken only to a limit. You can't exceed that barrier of work-life balance. Extra hours have to be put in when it is demanded. There is no for that. And I was very clear in my business when I ran it. Right? When there is no work, sit, relax, take it easy, take off for 2, 3, 4 days. Doesn't matter to me. But when there is work, then you please deliver. This generation will understand. This is, I think, only a very temporary phase. I refuse to believe that this mindset could carry on forever. So I'm all for work-life balance. I'm all for saying take your weekends off, take your Saturday, Sundays off, all for that. But when there is work, please don't show me the watch.
Yeah. I feel a few of the entrepreneurs who want to enter into the travel industry, a few of from Madurai, or whenever I speak to these people, they want to enter into the travel industry because they can travel. So I broke a myth to few. I said, no, if you want to make others travel, then you please enter the travel industry. Just because you see my Instagram me traveling to Maldives or London or anywhere, don't just get zazzed and, enter into the travel industry. You need to be passionate about it. You need to put 20 hours of, job, kind of work if you need to provide. At the same time, people who are entering into the travel industry have a lot of self-doubt also. Like how you said that, you did a biggest mistake of not pre-planning, went all in. So what are the 3 tips do you think, like, topmost, if you're entering into a travel industry, especially as an entrepreneur, what they should be remembering on that tip? Like, 3 things.
So travel industry is very broad-based. It depends which segment you're really coming into. Right? I think those people who are wanting to come into the traditional travel agency business should not get into it. That business is getting sucked completely. It's going totally online. And the air technology is growing. You've got people like Amazon also now who are going to start their own travel if they've already not started. Anybody with a database today, be it Swiggy, be it Zomato, be it Amazon, any company with a database is at some stage going to get into travel and hospitality.
Correct.
That is a given. Because the number of people who are traveling today and the potential of growth hospitality and travel are offering, it's all a database game today.
True.
On technology. That's all there is. If I'm selling you X, why can't I sell you Y product? You're the same customer.
Distribution channel.
That's it. So database is going to drive businesses as we go forward. And I think anybody who's in the travel agency business is asking for trouble. Honestly, that's the way I look at it. So I would not recommend anybody getting into ticketing and stuff like that. Right? Outbound today has amazing potential in the country. I think if I'm correct, the last figure I read, we are growing at about 22%. Year on year. You know that better than I would. But I think the growth rate is 22%. You find Indian carriers are now connecting you to places which were never there before. right?
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Phuket recently on Indigo and Air India. Both times flights were full.
Yeah.
Till now it was just Bangkok.
Yeah.
A place like Phuket today is drawing full crowds. Look what's happening in Baku. Look what's happening to Vietnam.
Yeah.
In all these places, you're going to get direct flights happening.
True.
So I think outbound today is on a huge way up. So anybody wanting to get into
This
segment,
outbound holidays.
I think outbound business is really the space to be in. I mean, it takes a lot. We don't have time to discuss what all goes in.
Yeah.
But I think that's an amazing space to be in. What has not really caught on in this country and I feel has huge potential is the adventure space. Mountaineering, trekking, that segment.
Yeah.
Look where Nepal, being not even 1/50th size of this country, has taken that segment too.
Yeah.
So there's first government apathy because the government doesn't give tourism any importance at all. That's a given, right? So let's not even go there.
Yeah.
But I think individuals who are fond of the outdoors have an amazing space in the adventure tourism segment. Amazing space happening there. And I think that is something for anybody who has the knowledge of that area, you should definitely get in there. There is, I think in India, there are only a handful of companies
Yeah.
in the adventure segment. I can even count it on one hand,
Yeah.
the good ones, or maybe two hands.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think companies like Trilofia has taken a huge market space in this.
Exactly, yeah. And they're, what is it? They're all tech driven also.
Yeah.
It's not a hardcore adventure company, right? So I find a gap happening there.
Yeah.
Should happen there.
So as you said that the outbound holiday section,
Yes.
which is growing, and I feel that tier 2, tier 3 cities, people are more aspirational
Yes.
traveling abroad. Like I see traffic moving from a place like Trichy or Kanpur or Lucknow rather than Bombay, Delhi.
Yeah.
And these entrepreneurs or travel entrepreneurs who are upcoming, like, finishing their studies, going back to their hometown, wanting to start something from tier 2, tier 3 cities. Do you think that there is a scope? Because people, I have noticed one thing in Indian mentality is that if you're going for a holiday, no matter how big company you search the package for, ultimately you need a neck to catch. And if you have a known person in your area or in your street, you would rather book it from them rather than a big company. That's been a kind of a mindset of an Indian traveler.
Yes.
And I feel that there's a huge space for upcoming these Gen Zs. Who come normally the in our generation, what we used to do is that we used to go to the big cities, work for a 50,000, spend for 40,000 rupees expenses, send back the money of 10,000. Post COVID, the trend has changed. I think people want to stay with their family, earn. Do you think this shift is kind of evident or will help the?
So let's look at two very clear parameters in our industry. To say. Every major chain is now eyeing tier 2, tier 3 cities.
True.
You take any new opening which is happening, I think out of 5 new openings happen, 3 to 4 of them are in the tier 2, tier 3 cities, and only 1 odd is in the metro cities. So that's one trend which is showing very clearly, like you said, that's where the focus has to be. Look how the airlines are expanding. Any new flights being introduced are now from the smallest of places you can get to anywhere at all.
True.
Right? And this is going to grow. So the fact that both these segments are putting their money, they must have done some study that there is a potential. So I would absolutely agree with you that the tier 2, tier 3 cities are the ones which the youngsters should look at. You don't have to come to a Delhi, Mumbai and struggle. Which you rightly said is very expensive to live in this place, especially if you're just starting up. So there is a risk of business and there is a risk of high expense personally, which is a challenge.
So what do you think is the power of spiritual tourism? Because in India, a lot of people are getting into the spiritual tourism. And what tips or message you have if somebody wants to get into the spiritual tourism as a travelpreneur?
I think... So somebody asked me the other day, how should I make my business plan? I want to get into small hotels. I said, boss, don't waste your time making a plan and going to a consultant. You just follow Mr. Modi wherever the temples are opening. You start opening one property there. Your business plan is ready. You have to do nothing else. For the next 15 years, you will have 15 hotels there.
True.
Nothing else you have to do.
True.
And I think religious tourism, for whatever it is, I mean, politically it's a different story, but I think from a business potential point of view, and religious tourism, the great thing is it is very low investment value.
Yeah.
You don't need to do fancy luxury stuff there.
You don't.
A guy is looking for quiet, neat, clean, functional space,
Yeah.
good vegetarian food. That is it. You're done.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So entrepreneurs should also look at that. And all of these religious places are again mostly in tier 2 cities.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Delhi, Mumbai's and all don't have that.
Don't have.
It's all in the smaller places.
Yeah.
Tier 2, tier 3.
Yeah.
So it fits in very well with that whole thought process
Yeah.
of trying to do something
Yeah.
in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Yeah.
No, of course. And one thing I have noticed with the small agencies is that you've been a hotelier.
Yeah.
You're into luxury space as well.
Yes.
There is a kind of a resilience to sell luxury. If you're a small agency, like the contribution of a small travel agents
Yeah.
to the luxury market is very minimal. I feel it goes with the mindset, like, because of course, the rates, everything aside, people have a self-doubt before selling also that I don't know I'll be able to sell it or not. A lot of people have that kind of a mindset. If I speak to people that why don't you focus on selling luxury, hotels from your city, because people are spending. I have clients from say Kolhapur going to Maldives. Nowadays trends are changing. So do you think you need a separate mindset to sell luxury to even pitch?
So I have a very different take on luxury, honestly. I think luxury is one of the most misused words in the industry.
Okay.
I've seen signboards saying 2-star luxury hotel. Now, how can you be 2-star as your luxury?
Yeah.
That's one part of the story. But I think luxury today means different things to different people. It is not about glitz and glamour anymore. Luxury could be for a very stressed out chief operating officer going for 3 days into the jungle, staying in a tent and not having any connectivity. That could be his luxury.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think those days are gone when you measure luxury either by high pricing or by saying it has to be glitz and glamour. Today, luxury has very different connotations.
Yeah.
And luxury is also honestly now out of the window.
Yeah.
5 years, we've really taken it to another level in terms of crashing it.
Yeah.
Now suddenly the whole shift is changing to experiential. You talk to anybody, any hotelier, any agency, everybody is now creating a product which should be experiential.
Yeah.
Luxury after COVID has actually got a sort of a negative tag to it. That after human beings or society at large went through all what we did in COVID, why should you even think about luxury, honestly?
Yeah.
So luxury took a beating because immediately after COVID you saw luxury was dropped from a lot of mainstream.
Yeah.
They just dropped the word. Or they started using it very cautiously, right? And experiential became the new buzzword.
Yeah.
Less for more and this and that. So all this
Sustainability or...
all of sustainability, eco. I mean, that's another story to talk about.
Yeah.
But that is where we went after COVID.
Yeah.
So yes, I agree with you. Money is in the smaller cities. What happens is probably to sell luxury, maybe those people don't have the exposure because it's not everybody's
Training or
training or exposure for a luxury product. You're coming from a small town, your mindset and your whole interaction has been at a certain level only. And you get scared if you can handle luxury or not. So it's more, I think, an internal scare than you're not being able to do it. So yes, youngsters should get rid of that because luxury is not, like I said, only about selling high-end products. Pricing is one of the things.
Yeah.
But there is so much more which happens. Look at how cruise liners are selling today. I mean, cruise business is getting very big across the globe, right?
Of course.
So that's another segment which people should look at doing. So I think it's more a mindset. It's more a fear or a hesitation that can I really reach the expectations of the client?
Yeah.
And then you sort of hold back. But I think youngsters today are probably getting smarter than that. So I hope with time it'll change. Yeah.
So for you, like for example, being worked in a corporate life, then being an entrepreneur, what's next? Like including me, many of us wanting to know. Because there's something which you keep on saying that you want to, kind of give back your knowledge. Like as we said that the people need training. Because to be very, very honest, I may be totally controversial in this. People who are teaching travel and hospitality in colleges, in MBAs and all, they lack teaching the entrepreneur skills in many of the college. Few of them you give an example, of course, but especially in travel and hospitality, I feel the reason to start this podcast also is to give back to the travel industry to make them learn very, very up keep an update or up to date with the travel industry, because what they learn and they're coming back to the travel industry is huge. There's a gap.
Yes.
So what's next for Himmat Anand?
Gave up everything in November of last year. It's been a year now, exactly 1 year as we speak today. 3rd of November is when I signed off last year. So it'll be exactly 1 year from there. And in this 1 year, I have realized that to do nothing is also an art.
Yeah.
Not everybody can do nothing.
True.
Right?
True.
And I have enjoyed my last 1 year actually doing nothing.
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, I'm a person who can detach and give up very quickly. So for me to move away from Tree of Life or from my corporate world when I did was extremely easy. It could be like overnight. So I don't linger, I don't think back. That was when it was, and it is no more, and that is the end of the story. So that made it very easy for me to be in my own space of actually enjoying doing nothing. Now, I have slowly started to do two things. One is, 5 years ago, I said that once I'm free of everything else, I want to start a small cafe in the mountain somewhere.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I'm now starting to travel around, explore places, because I have a very fixed idea in my mind as to what I want. And I will only do it if I get that. If it doesn't happen that way, I will not do it. So I won't compromise there, because I know exactly what I would like to do. The irony is that I've already started purchasing stuff for the cafe. I don't know where it is. I don't know when it is going to be. I don't know what it is going to be about.
Okay.
I know it is going to happen.
Okay.
So very slowly, if I like something online, I just order. I say, "Kaam aayega kahin." So we'll see what happens.
That's you. Right? That's you.
So I've already started doing that. When it happens, I will see. But that's something which I definitely would like to do. And that cafe is also just going to be for fun. It's an idea which I have. It's got no commercial bondages or whatever, but it's just something which I'd like to do. Right, something different up in the mountains. So that's one thing. Two, I have in the past months been invited by various institutions, colleges, whatever, for giving talks on hospitality, on this and that. I get a call, I think every 10 days, somebody wanting to talk to me and saying, I need some help, I need some guidance. So I sit, have a coffee, and we chat for an hour or so. I do that pretty often. So these are the things which keep me occupied.
Okay.
I am very often questioned as to why don't I commercialize my knowledge now? And start charging for advice given. I'm dead against that. So it's not that I don't believe in this phrase of giving back to society. No. I think each of us do what we want. Right? So it's not about giving back to society. I just feel that I enjoy interacting with people and sharing my experiences with them or guiding them for whatever it is worth. Right? And I will just continue to do that. So there is no commercial value I will ever put into anything which I do. Unless it's a very big project, that's a different story. Right? But I think on a day-to-day basis, so I spend, I think, a couple of hours every week with somebody or the other.
Okay.
So I do that. And I'm just pretty happy letting go. I'm pretty happy.
Minimalism.
It is forms of that. I didn't want to use that word because that'll get very zen and philosophical. So I stayed away from that word.
But how do you take these calls? Like, because people who enter into the travel industry or a hotel industry rather. And like you said that you have left everything at your peak of your career. When we were thinking that, okay, you'll hit 53 of life hotels in spiritual cities. Ayodhya was coming up very huge way. And, so how do you decide that call?
So I don't think there's any form. And I'll tell you, let's just look at Tree of Life. What happened? Why did I give it up, right? So in 13 years, we'd reached 15 hotels. I knew very well that the Tree of Life as a brand could go further. It had the potential to grow. I also knew very well that Himmat Anand was the wrong guy to make that happen. I was very clear of that. I knew my capacity of how much I could do. So from zero, getting it to where I could. And I think self-realization is the most important thing. All of us feel we can carry on forever. And then you go and mess up things. Two was that I started to realize 45 years is a long time of having worked. When will I get the time of what I'm doing now? Right? And we tend to keep pushing it further and further and further because of various pressures.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to fall into that trap. Right? So I was very clear, I've done this, now let me go. So then we found the right people in Ambuja Neotias in Calcutta, and we handed over the company to them.
Okay.
And as we speak, any day now, the Tree of Life is going to become, I think, the 6th brand of the Taj Group of Hotels.
Oh.
The Taj is now signing up with them to take on the complete running and management.
Okay.
So I am just so happy and satisfied when I see this happen, because I knew this brand could go forward in some way. I didn't know how, but I knew it had the capacity to move forward. Just as I knew I couldn't take it any further. Right? Because that is what I could do. And I did how much I could do. So I think it's only a matter of self-realization which comes in when you decide what you need to do, and you have to be honest with your own self.
Because it's a clash of thought, right? Like one, think of scalability, that okay, I've got 1 to 15 and then 15 to 30. Many of the entrepreneurs goes into that mode.
This was discussed internally.
Yeah.
Like, you've done 15, why can't we sell at 25?
Yeah.
I said, when you reach 25, then we'll say, why not 40?
40.
And where will you say no?
Yeah.
Right?
Art of saying no.
You have to know how to say no.
Yeah.
You just have to know it. And I think that's what people who are in business or in positions in corporate world, and it's a very personal thing. You know, there is no blueprint for this. There is no right or wrong. It's every individual who likes to do what he or she does.
Yeah.
And then you just take it on from there, yeah.
Last but not least, that one topmost tip, if you want to give it to any entrepreneurs who will be wanting to join or start something, what would be that be?
Just one tip. So the one tip, if it is, then it is self-belief.
Yeah. You'd summarize everything to say.
Yeah. Of everything what I've said, I think an entrepreneur, if you don't have self-belief in what you're doing, please don't do it. Because you actually already failed halfway.
Yeah.
Just that one point is 50% of the game. Rest everything else is 50%. So if they do that, and one must take a risk in life. Why not? Yeah. And what is there to lose? You can always restart all over again.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for taking out the time. It was, as always, amazing having a conversation, whether it is over a cup of coffee or a podcast. Once again, thank you so much for taking out the time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Take care.